Nobody's really talking about this important statistic when they always talk about real estate and the market's going up and down and doing all these things, but nobody ever really talks about months of inventory. And when they do talk about it, they don't really talk about it in a meaningful way and kind of brush over it like an irrelevant statistic. Generally, I don't pay attention to monthly numbers. I don't like to wait for the monthly numbers to come together before I report on what's happening in the market because, as we know, we're in 2023 now. Markets move way faster than they have ever before, and you need to be on top of sales every single week to understand which way the market is moving. Monthly data is no longer relevant or appropriate to base any sort of real estate judgment on. So this is why this blog here specifically for 196 weeks in a row has been tracking the market every single week. And we've been spotting trends before your local favorite real estate reporter does when Toronto Real Estate Board releases their numbers. I think it's been incredibly valuable for our clients. It's been incredibly valuable for me and the rest of the members of the Spring Team. So months of inventory numbers I ran this morning across the board are down. Like looking at the numbers here, and this is all linked in the article below, or you can go to TheSpringTeam.ca/blog to read all 196 of the past weeks in a row. You can check them all out there. But like looking at houses right now, we're back into like August inventory levels, and for condos we dropped almost 200 units this week, so we're going to hopefully dip under 2,000 condo units available for sale in the next couple of weeks. And all of this as we approach the holidays is a very normal reaction to a very normal market. Again, I'm trying to build a case here for our market being a hell of a lot more stable and way more normal than people are giving it credit for. There's even an article that came out in the Star last week that compared, prices being down 19% since February of 2022. Like, we need to immediately stop comparing things to the top of the market. It's really not helpful at all to help you understand where the market is today and where it's been moving. Some neighborhoods, the bottom of the market is now. Most Toronto neighborhoods, especially close to the urban centers and some in the periphery, are still well above the bottom of the market, which was the fourth quarter of 2022. But anyway, looking at months of inventory, we had a big jump last month. And if you go back to, I'll link it in the article below. If you go back to last month's months of inventory numbers, the early November market update, you'll see there was a big jump from October to November in terms of months of inventory, and we pulled back to before October numbers now. So there's a significant drop in listings, in my opinion, slightly more aggressive than a typical seasonal adjustment. So I think that there are a lot of people now that are just fed up and they're just not getting the price that they want on their property, and they're just going to pull it, and they're just going to pull it, and they're going to sit back and they're going to wait and see what happens. Now, I think that there is going to be one quick small window for sellers to take advantage as we get closer to the holidays. Because if listings keep pulling back like this, remember, buyers might also be taking their foot off the gas, but some buyers are still out there and they need to make a purchase sooner than later. We're no longer under the gun of people having to use their pre-approval rates because rates have gone up. People are more than likely able to qualify for lower rates right now, especially if they've gone for a fixed product, because the bond market doing what the bond market's doing, it's brought fixed rates down. And we might even see rates under 6% for fixed in the coming weeks or months. So we'll see what the announcement tomorrow is all about and go from there. But I think that there's no longer that pressure to use up your pre-approval because you're probably getting a lower rate. So there's a little bit less pressure on buyers to make a move during this holiday season. But if you're looking for something very, very specific, there's not a ton out there, believe it or not. Like, there's not a ton of quality supply right now, especially as we continue to pull back like this. So there's going to be a surprise little seller market there for like a week or so as we approach the holidays. I'm not quite sure when that's going to be, but it kind of feels like there's a little bit more energy in the market right now in the neighborhoods that we're tracking, with the exception of the condos along the Kingston Road corridor, who are not performing amazingly right now. But that's also based on a lot of older condos on that strip, because a lot of the newer condos are just starting to come online now. So that condo section of the Kingston Road corridor, which is the last community that we track at the bottom of the blog here, that condo section should get a little more active as we head into 2024 there. But overall, I think there's not a lot to be insanely concerned about out there. I think there's a lot of health in our market right now. I think that there are a lot of people continuing to make moves. I think there are a lot of people way more comfortable than they thought they were going to be right now, despite some of the increased costs. So a lot more optimism out there. And I think that those people that are waiting for that big crash to try and take advantage of huge price discounts might have missed the boat on that opportunity. But needless to say, there are going to be, and there will always, there are currently opportunities available for folks. It just may not be in that turnkey, beautiful property in that ideal neighborhood, because those properties tend to always do well, especially in Toronto. And that's one thing to really keep an eye on here, is that we're talking about Toronto, right? So a lot of the news that you probably consume is aggregated Canadian data for real estate, and it's very hard to talk about Canadian real estate as one big unit where you've got streets and house types and neighborhoods that are reacting very differently than the market as a whole. So you'll notice that I don't really bring up average price or broad data like that too often, even though all the average and median and days on market data is below. I like to just focus on really mainly the number of listings, number of sales, and monthly the months of data information. The average price, there are too many things that can swing the average with huge sales and small sales, because we're dealing with relatively small data sets here. You've got some weeks where there's only one number to report and one sale to report, in Birchcliff especially. So really important to not pay too much attention to the average price. But average price after 196 weeks is actually a better data point. So when we take all 196 weeks of average price, we have them in the charts below in the blog. Each blog is updated with the next week's thing. You can see what neighborhoods are susceptible to bigger swings, and looking at the median price is really more important than looking at the average price, because median price does a really good job of its role is to measure the middle of the market and not get affected by really big sales and really small sales like average price does. So we track both of those numbers in the charts in the blog. So make sure you're looking at those just to see over a 3-year period what kind of swings are happening in a particular neighborhood. You'll notice that the thing that people love to shit on the most, Toronto condos, are one of the more stable price points, or one of the more stable products out there that are not experiencing the wild swings that the freehold or house market is doing, especially near our urban centers. There was a point during the peak where the average house price was over $2 million. Like, obviously that was going to come off of that at some point, but of course that'll be a place that will be again. It's just when, right? That's the main question. So anyway, in the spirit of keeping this relatively short, I think that's all the information I have to put out there right now. We've been getting a lot of booking requests for like real estate holding reviews and strategy calls. So please keep those coming. The entire team is waiting to do those things. We've got a ton of listings coming out shortly, so please reach out if you're looking for something specific. Anything from like lofts to detached houses. We've got relatively a diverse collection of properties coming out over the next 2 or 3 months. So please reach out if you aren't finding what you're looking for. And there have been some major changes in real estate rules and regulations over the past week. And we're going to start to talk about that a lot more in terms of what representation means. So if you want to learn more about some of these changes and how it might affect you as a buyer or seller, please reach out and I will send you a quick little one-pager that we've made about that. It affects how commissions work. It affects how disclosures are required to happen. Affects a lot of things that, I don't think some agents are taking as seriously as they should. There's a lot of new things in there that buyers and sellers are going to also have to wrap their heads around. So let's work together to start to get ahead of that and learn more. So if you are a buyer or a seller in the next year or so, even if you're not going to be working with myself or the Spring Team, I just want to make sure you have this information. So reach out and let's talk about the new rules and regulations in real estate as well. Anyway, my name is Ara Memorian. I appreciate your attention and energy. The best way to support the work that we're doing here is to obviously subscribe and to share and comment and do all those awesome things. Thank you for your attention so far. And I'll see you in week 197 next week. And let me know what kind of party we should have for week 200. That's like a milestone that I'm pretty proud of. So SpringTeam.ca/blog. Find me on Instagram, Ara Mamo, or the Spring Team on Instagram. And let's keep the conversation going and subscribe. Thank you very much. Adios.